Sega of America have been on fire as of late, listening in on fan demand and dropping 2 games in the Yakuza series last year, and dropping a whopping 3 titles this year in 2018, and they are Yakuza 6, Hokuto ga Gotoku, and the focal point of this review, Yakuza Kiwami 2 for the PlayStation 4. Serving as a remaster for the second game in the series released over a decade ago, Yakuza Kiwami 2 follows Kazuma Kiryu once again as he grooms a leader fit to mend the wounded Tojo clan, prevents conflict against Yakuza based in the Western Japan region, and bears the responsibility of his clan's actions towards the Korean Mafia 20 years ago. A huge installment in the series calls for a huge adjustment, and Kiwami 2 doesn't falter in this regard. Most of the game has been rebuilt from the ground up using the same engine that powers Yakuza 6, which ensures it looks and sounds amazing. A few kinks have been ironed out from the previous game, as this marks the second game in the series to utilize this engine, meaning that there's less screen tearing and pop-in for those who are running on a standard PS4 console. For those running on a PS4 Pro, expect even better performance and a much more consistent frame rate. If I can nitpick a few concerns around the presentation, while Yakuza 2 has aged incredibly well considering, the animation assets used from the previous game tends to downplay a lot of the graphical improvements and advancements that Kiwami 2 provides, especially during some cutscenes. Majority of the dialogue is also written and not fully voice acted, so don't get too excited if you're hoping to hear Kiryu exclaim, "I peacocked your mum" out loud. Gameplay speed and momentum has definitely improved too, so if you could stomach the many changes Yakuza 6 brought to the table, expect a system that's real weighty, visceral, and satisfying without sacrificing the speed or finesse required to overcome the tougher fights. There's a bigger discrepancy between standard brawls and boss battles in this game, as bosses have multi-layered health bars and are far more challenging to deal with. And this formed one of my biggest gripes with Yakuza 6, as boss fights finished quite quickly to very little fanfare, and Kiwami 2 addresses these faults with flying colours. It's great to see some of the biggest and best antagonists to ever grace the Yakuza series be treated with the respect they most certainly deserve in the remaster. As with most Yakuza games, Kiwami 2 doesn't falter in the sheer amount of distractions available. While some fan favourites and staples like karaoke and darts are there, most of the minigames tend to favour the advancements brought forth by the engine the game uses, such as the asset-intensive clan creator with so many models on screen at once, and the gaudy full-motion stylings of the Gravia studio. Kiwami 2 also marks the return of the Cabaret Club mode and picks up the narrative years after the events of Yakuza 0, which is a pretty nice touch and adds more to the legacy of Sotenbori and Yakuza's universe. Goro Majima also has a set of playable chapters unlocked throughout the game that leans in on his interactions with Makoto from Yakuza 0, which feels more like it's appealing towards the more recent fans of the series, so your mileage is probably going to vary depending on when you picked up the series. Still, more content is better than less content, as Kiwami 2 is definitely heavier than its release predecessor, Yakuza 6, even if some spots of its second playable area are cut. If you're looking to get the Platinum Trophy, expect over about 50 hours of equally fun and slightly infuriating times ahead. But all in all, Yakuza Kiwami 2 does well as a sophomore attempt with a relatively new game engine. It provides enough bang for your buck and is most definitely worth a revisit for fans of the original release. And if you're tuning in as a recent Yakuza promoter, all the new bells and whistles are sure to complement arguably one of the strongest entries in the series to date.